Just walk us through. First of all, there was this case was actually taken forth to the courts, and the courts did declare that Mr. Fayulu had actually lost the poll, as it was announcing that Mr. Felix Tshisekedi had actually won. Is it a lost cause here?
Yes, I believe it's a lost cause because Fayulu was asked to bring evidence of what he was claiming, which is he won the elections. But instead of bringing evidence, he brought articles from newspapers, from RFI and other international newspapers. So the court said they could not receive that as evidence, and they just went on to uphold what the Electoral Commission said. So Fayulu did not bring substantial evidence that the elections were rigged or that he won the elections. He is, however, under the impression that he won election for 3 reasons. The first one being that just before election, there was an international poll conducted by a respectable institute from New York that said that he was way ahead of the others and he was leading in the polls. The second is that the observers, Senko, said that according to their data, he won the election. However, their data were a projection because they did not cover all the electoral bureau. They just covered a few, and from that few, they made a projection that then led them to say that he might have win the elections. And the third one is a leaked document that RFI and other international journals used to claim that Fayulu won the election. But in reality, he did not have enough evidence. He did not have observers in the bureau. He did not have enough evidence. So his claim was rejected.
Right. This is very interesting. And I want to bring in another example here from Kenya, where the Chief Justice Maraga, you do remember this actually made rounds across much of Africa. It was unprecedented at the time, where the court actually did look through the case put forward by presidential candidate Raila Odinga and pronounced that the election was void at the time. What evidence do you need to present to a court? Because you're raising a good case. You know, he just came up with articles from a paper. But what evidence here do you need to present to a court to show that this actually has some water?
When we go for election, in every bureau de vote, there is a threefold paper on which all the observers and the witnesses will sign. So they will make the count at the end of the day, and then they will say so and so had so many people, and then they will sign. Now, those papers, because they have threefold, one will stay in the bureau de vote. The second one goes to the Electoral Commission Central in Kinshasa. And the third one is posted outside the bureau de vote so that everybody who voted can go there and see the result for themselves. So what you need is a copy of all the bureau de vote throughout the country. So if you are contesting, for example, the result of Kasai, you need to bring all the bureau from Kasai, that paper, a copy of it, a certified copy of it. You bring it to the court and you say, this is what CENI says from the result, and this is what I say happened. Now, what happens in the Congo is that CENI has never published the official result. As we speak, a month after elections, CENI hasn't published any result. But Fayulu also doesn't have the copies because he didn't deploy any witness. He was contesting the electoral process. He was telling voters not to go to vote because he doesn't trust the process. So he did not prepare. He did not have any observers. He relies on the Senko observers, which is the Catholic Church. But unfortunately, the Catholic Church did not have enough support, so they did not deploy throughout the country. They just deployed in key strategic position. But at the end of the day, they don't have data from throughout the country. They only have a projection, which is like a statistic from the poll that they have. They try to multiply it, given the tendencies and all that, but they don't have concrete data. So nobody has any choice but to believe what Seni says.
Soraya, this is quite insightful and very fascinating. There is a report here that following Fayulu's defeat and consequent move towards the Constitutional Court, who have also rejected it, quote unquote, he says he will pursue his efforts in an international judicial authority, which is quite fascinating. On one end, you have an ICC that's revered as a kangaroo court across much of Africa, and now you have a presidential candidate who's lost an election and wants to run to an international community to cry foul. How comical is this?
It's very funny because the only institution that can say who won the election is the Electoral Commission. And they've already said who won the elections. Now, the only other institution that can break the Seni's report or the Seni's result is the Constitutional Court, and they've already upheld those results. Now, the international community, naming international countries and authorities, have already congratulated Felix Tshisekedi, which means they are ready to work with him. So I don't know what other institutions he wants to go to. He went to the African Union, which expressed some concern. And yes, they were concerned, but it's not evidence. Nobody can do anything.
Right.
All they could do at the African Union was to tell the Constitutional Court to wait a little bit, to conduct an investigation. But unfortunately, there was no evidence from which they could conduct the investigation. So they went on and proclaimed Felix Tshisekedi as the winner of the election. So I don't really know what else he could do. My opinion is that with his all peaceful resistance, he wants to acquire some legitimacy because, as we know, Fayulu was not a big shot in the opposition. We have people like Bemba, we have people like Moise Katumbi, and others who are big shots now in the opposition. Then there was also Felix Tshisekedi and Vital Kamerhe. Now that Vital Kamerhe and Felix Tshisekedi are in power, the opposition, as we speak, looks like Moise Katumbi and Jean-Pierre Bemba. So if Fayulu wants to secure a space in the opposition, he needs to go on tour, because when he was doing the campaign, he was basically campaigning against the elections, telling people to boycott them. So nobody really knew who he was. He was just speaking on behalf of Bemba and Katumbi, who could not come in country then. So what I believe he's trying to do now is to build some legitimacy, to come across as the main opposition figure in the country, and use this little time when Bemba and Katumbi are not in country to position himself. Because once they come back, the procuration that they gave him will expire, and then he will go back to anonymity if he doesn't work hard right now.